how it looked though on camera.
In February of 2021, I set up a shoot with a local model. The idea wasn't so much to create something I could put on a show reel. I don't need a reel. I was really just after skin tones as part of my test of the red KOMODO and the zcam E2-S6G. Both are global shutter cameras. I've made a whole series of videos comparing the two. I'll link that down below. It wasn't a bad day, but it wasn't a great day. It was obviously overcast and snowing, but I think it actually worked out to our advantage. The snow added a nice element. I rigged up both these cameras differently. The red I put on my shoulder rig, which is my preferred way of shooting, just because I wanted to see how it worked on a rig setup like that. And the zcam, I just went handheld with a wide-angle lens. I actually didn't change the lens on that camera, and just because I had the red on my shoulder rig, I ended up using it for 90% of the shots. And that's not to say I preferred that camera over the E2-S6G. It's just I prefer shooting on a shoulder rig. The model I worked with, her name is Mackenzie. I'll link her Instagram down below. I've never met her before. I found her on a Facebook group for models in the Spokane area, and I just started chatting, and I knew she was interested in doing a photography shoot. I said, hey, I do video, how about that? And she was up for it. We had some discussion before the shoot. We just talked about some of the details. I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable shooting with me since she'd never worked with me before. And I let her know up front that I didn't really care about her wardrobe, her poses, really even the style of the video. I was up front saying, look, I'm really just after footage for these cameras because I make comparison, really boring technical comparison videos about camera equipment. But I said, I can promise you that I'll give you something good that you can use for your reel. And so she was down with that, totally cool with that. I gotta say, for being the first time I've done a shoot like this with a model and everything, I think it turned out really well. I was really happy. She was really happy. I got great footage. She got great footage. I was able to do pretty much everything I needed to do with these cameras. And so it was a real win-win. It was a positive experience. I had been in contact with another local Spokane shooter, or at least somebody who moved to Spokane recently, who had experience. He had been using zcam cameras, so he found me through the zcam Facebook group. And he was like, hey man, we should get together sometime and talk about cameras and do whatever. I was like, yeah, cool, definitely. So when I knew I had this shoot coming up, I reached out to him and said, hey man, do you want to come to the shoot with me? And not only did he come, but he brought his Canon C70 and his Canon stills camera, and he did all of this behind the scenes stuff for me. And it's just awesome because he has the experience and he definitely has the good gear. And so that's why I'm able to make this video, is because of Ashley Maddox. So I'll link him down below. He shoots under Missionary Films on Instagram. He's working all over the region doing stuff, and he's a cool guy. So I want to say a big thanks to Ashley for coming out and shooting with me. I unfortunately don't have any behind the scenes stuff for the shots here at the fountain. Ashley had to take off. He had something going on that day as well. So I just got the shots I got, and it turned out really cool. I think these are pretty good shots. The thing about shooting with a shoulder rig is you're not going to get the really dramatic movements like you would either just running around handheld, which would probably be very shaky, or especially with the gimbal or something like maybe an easy rig. You can get a lot more fluid movements, and also using manual focus lenses, it'd be hard for me to do all of that. That's why I don't use a gimbal anymore, just because of these lenses. And I found that it's impossible for me to hold a gimbal with a camera and a monitor. It's just way too heavy, and pull focus and compose my shots. It's just not possible for me. And that's why I moved to a shoulder rig, because I can do all that stuff by myself, one-man bandit. I like this wooden camera handle, but it's got this split handle design with this rod in the way, so I have to do this, and it makes my fingers freeze. Usually I'd be wearing mittens. Now, if I had a gimbal that, I rigged up with the camera and a monitor, and I could two-hand it and then have somebody pull focus, maybe that would work. But man, I feel after using an EVF, it just gives you such an immersive experience. It really lets you focus on the composition, and you don't get the same experience with a monitor. I don't care how big it is, 7 inches, 9 inches. You just don't get that same experience. And I always say this when I talk about the difference between a monitor and an EVF. I don't care how bright your monitor is. If you get in a certain position, you're going to get a reflection from the sun, a glare, and you're just not going to be able to see that screen. Whereas with an EVF, you always see the image. It's always the same brightness. and you can pull focus very easily because you can tell if it's in focus or not. This shoot probably lasted maybe 2 hours, maybe just a little under. I didn't want to go very long because it was hanging around freezing, so I didn't want my model to get cold, but it kept it short and everybody walked away happy. Thanks for joining me. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll just be putting up more content as I come up with stuff to make. Thanks.